This is not the church of Joseph Smith.
I have faith that the Constitution will be saved as prophesied by Joseph Smith. But it will not be saved in Washington.
Okay, Travis Wayne Goodsell, I'm now happy. I've seen the Little Red-Headed Girl show. Whisper the sounds of silence. So, yeah, alrighty. Which to do? I don't want to do the big, complicated opioid masses one. Comparing the two apostasies also won't be a big one. Jesus' birthday. Jesus. Jose, can you see? Okay, and then Mormons desperate for prophets. Well, birthday. You got it. Birthday. I need to do birthday today because this is the day to do the birthday. But Mormons desperate. I should be doing also the Lion King. Replying to his comments. Mormons desperate. You do understand, Mormons, that when you get so desperate for the current prophet, the president of the church, to give you a prophecy, to prove to the world that the church is true, that he has the keys of prophecy, that you have to resort to making it up, stretching his comments and turning them into a prophecy that he never even said was going to be the case. For example, up in Canada, a missionary returned from his mission in Salt Lake City, and among his bragging and boasting, he talked about having dinner with Gordon B. Hinckley, president of the church. Or actually, he wasn't the president of the church. Well, was he? It was 95. So no. I was in the university at that time. So it was when he was a counselor, which may also be part of his Mormon stretching of myths, which is part and parcel in that Mormons create myths so that they can justify the church's existence as legitimate, such as magical underwear. You know, I went to the beach and I wore my garments and I got sunburned except where I was wearing my garments. It's a miracle. I actually heard that one. I couldn't believe it. But he was talking at a dinner that I was in attendance with him and others. And he was talking about how President Hinckley had told him when he asked Hinckley, who do you think's going to win the next presidential election? So it must have been 92, 96, so it was 92, that presidential election year for 91. This may expose him as a liar face. I got back from my mission in 91. and got married in 92, and we then went up into Canada after that semester. So could have been still 92 when he could have said it. It could have been when I first went up there. So he was telling us that Hinckley responded with, "There isn't going to be another election." And so he was taking that to mean that the election that year was not going to happen, that something was going to interfere and prevent it from occurring. And I remember pondering over that as the election came and went. And we've had successive presidents since then. And then I also remember when I moved to Utah, and I think it was when I was working for the church as a church service missionary, working on the footnotes. I had access to a lot of insider information during that time. And one of them was that a meeting was held, and the guy was in that meeting. And he mentioned that Hinckley said that there will come a time when Mexicans and Latinos outnumber whites in Utah. And if you know the percentage of whites compared to other ethnic groups in Utah, you would go, wow, that definitely would be a prophecy. Because whites in Utah are in the mid-90s, and so it would take a dramatic shift, a massive exodus of more than 3 million, because that's the population of Utah, is a little over 3 million. And still to this day, nothing. However, if you're paying close attention, while Trump is trying to lock them up and kick them out, Utah is different. Utah wants to embrace them and welcome them in, though they're not trying too hard to do so. They're not going out of their way, but they have laws set up to help refugees and such. And so I always remember when I was informed of that insider information of that meeting that was held. But it doesn't help if you keep the prophecy to yourself and don't share it with the church. And so I sort of downplayed it, as it still hasn't happened today, and I'm pretty sure the time limit is up. But that's what we saw in conference, is that the church was saying, we are purposely trying to fulfill the prophecies of Joseph Smith and Brigham Young. We're going to show the world that they were prophets, seers, and revelators, just not translators. Just please don't bring that up. We're embarrassed, we're ashamed. We can't do it, we can't figure it out. And so therefore it's wrong. And so, yeah, when you have a famine of prophecy in your religion, you get desperate for any little kernel, any little drop of anything to help justify your existence in that church, in the Mormon church. And I'm seeing it. It's sort of like the Chicago Cubs fans. They're so desperately wanting their team to make it to the playoffs and the World Series and Curse of the Bambino and so on and so forth. But that is Chicago, isn't it? When he was with the Cubs. It's kind of sad and pathetic to watch Mormons, as I did Kevin Durant this morning. He fell right into it. He's getting upset with me because of his thinking that I was prophesying that there wasn't going to be an April General Conference. And technically there shouldn't have been, had the church been honest and followed the law of the court processes. Because on the 31st, with them not responding, I would have filed the entry of default and motion for a summary default judgment. And all the judge would have to do is say, ordered. And it doesn't take a long time to figure out that the church is purposely delayed and did not respond. And so the judge shouldn't have to wait months to decide who to give their loyalty to, the church or the United States of America. But here we are, coronavirus. And so Kevin, you can tell he was thinking, he was interpreting my prophecy as coronavirus stopping the church when I was talking about the lawsuit. Because when he then said that Nelson's comments in the last conference, that this would be memorable and unforgettable, Mormons throughout the valley, even my neighbor, unbelievable, they're all saying coronavirus is the fulfillment of that prophecy he gave. No! He planned to have a new logo. That's what he was planning. That's what he was working on. And the one guy talking about how they were trying to, trying to remember what it was that they were planning. The conference, the bicentennial. They were trying to figure out what should they do to commemorate the bicentennial year. And so he was talking about it, and because I wanted to know, when did they start that again? What year? I remember talking about that in the video. And so, they plan things in advance, because things take time. When I was working on the footnotes for the revised version of the scriptures in 2009 release for foreign languages, because they needed to conform to the guide to the scriptures. We were doing this back in 1999. I was called in 2000 because he knew of my Paleo-Hebrew decipherment and was not yet informed by farms that he should stay away from me. But then he had to submit it to President Hinckley, who approved me as a divorced person. And so, again, like the supervisor, Hinckley just approved it. That's it. But for Mormons, that's like God, Jesus Christ himself, saying, I want Travis in that committee, in that project. And that's why I got elevated, is because of that belief that the prophet speaks for God. And you heard, was it Oakes? Or no, it was Cook, testifying that he knows Nelson communicates, gets revelation from Jesus personally. That's the Mormon thinking, and that kind of thinking gets them desperate. That they purposely do self-fulfilling prophecies of their own making to elevate the prophet to be a prophet. And so when Farms did contact him and found out that I was in that committee, and they tried to say, "Oh no, he's a troublemaker. Oh, he's no, get rid of him." I can't. Hinckley, sorry. And then David Gaunt, "I want him out." Sorry, can't touch him. He's untouchable. So, memories on the corner of my mind. Zoe, I got Zoe on the brain right now. And so, that's why it's so sad and pathetic. It's because I'm seeing this pattern of behavior as I'm reminiscing about the past and all the experiences where I now see, okay, so those things happen because of this mindset in Mormonism. That they're so desperate for the prophets to actually be prophets when there's not. There's a famine of prophecy. And yet all they had to do was look to Joseph Smith and his prophecies about the second coming. And so, yeah, that's why Mormons were promoting and pushing Nelson's comments when it was clear they had nothing to do with the prophecy of coronavirus and shutting down the church. So, yeah, unbelievable. Alrighty, so that's for that one. Like I said, if the church would just be silent, just go into hiding during coronavirus, not have conferences, say, "I'm sorry, we have to shut it down. I know we planned a bicentennial year, but with coronavirus, nothing we can do," and just remain silent this whole time, I would have nothing to do videos about. Nothing. But instead, they went and did it anyway, and now I've got years of stuff that I could do. The question is, how much time do we have left as a human race? So, alrighty.